Welcome back to the Align Podcast. My name is Aaron Alexander. This is a place that we bring together the world's leading experts on all things health and wellness to help you all optimize your life, your mind, your body, your movement, all the things. I'm going to start things off today with a quote that probably a good percentage of you all have heard, but it's good to come back to. This is Carl Jung. It is not that something different is seen, but that one sees differently. Thought that would be relevant for this time of life. It's not that something different is seen, but that one sees differently. There are so many different ways to perceive this experience, especially during pandemic times. So I challenge y'all to examine where are the opportunities for you during this interesting time frame of shutdown and such, depending upon where you're living on Earth. Today's guest was my friend, Mr. Nicholas Romanov, Dr. Nicholas Romanov, I should say, sorry. And Dr. Romanov is the founder of the Pose Method. He is a world-renowned sports scientist. He is absolutely one of the world's most renowned, I don't know if you'd call him a running coach, but he teaches people how the heck to run in such a way that their knees don't end up getting injured and ankles don't end up getting jacked up and hips don't end up all the things. He is a really valuable human being. One of his groundbreaking scientific studies I'm seeing here demonstrate how to reduce by virtually 50% the impact on the knees in running. So really fantastic human being, super sweet, kind soul. We get into a lot about his life, his history. He's from Russia, and he has lived a lot of life. And we get into not just the biomechanics of movement and mind-body connection stuff, but also just him as a man, because he's an interesting human being. So really great conversation. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. And I want to thank you guys for starting the first week of the Align Method Online program. If you are interested in learning some breathwork practices to help either upregulate your nervous system, make you feel more stimulated and full of energy, or downregulate, make you calm down, and also get into specifically how to get that head of yours back on top of your shoulders, forward head posture, and all that stuff, your chin jutting forward. It's not a good look, and we teach y'all how to sort that out. So you can go to alignpodcast.com, ALIGN podcast.com/align method. You can also go to the Instagram, Align Podcast, and then the link is in the bio for that, or it's at alignpodcast.com. You'll find it. It's on the internet. Thank you guys so much for reviews on the podcast, telling your friends, checking out the book, The Align Method. Thanks for reviews on Amazon for that. It's very appreciated. I appreciate it. Whatever. Here we go. Back to the podcast with one of the absolute legends of the running world and the sports science world, Dr. Nicholas Romanov. What's the term that you mentioned a second ago? The movement generalism? No, what was
No, it's called general movement theory.
Yeah, what is this?
Oh, it's a very complex thing. It's about the origin of movement, where it's coming from, and what is defining movement, what is structure of movement in general. Like any movement has the same structure, what people don't realize. In spite of diversity of movement, what we are dealing with, as a matter of fact, it's the same movement. It's the same structure. Because for movement by itself, it doesn't matter as how you move, because it's defined not by you, but by environment. Environmental rules, which not many of these rules, but two major things. It's gravity, which we do not perceive, but gravity comes to us in our senses as body weight and free falling. And this is what defined any movement. The structure of movement never goes beyond of that kind of pendulum of fall back to the body weight and fall again.
So how do people implement that into their lives in a meaningful way, those principles?
The thing is that people don't realize that they live in this structural world, and that this structure is incredibly simple. They are opposite. They are making too complicated movement or perception of movement. They are bringing lots of nonsense into the movement and define this, something like efforts, something like muscular work, like muscular coordination, where in science sense we have no control completely, but we have illusion that we do have control. And that is what creates lots of dissonance of movement. Why people are not moving good is not because they are not capable to move, because they create illusions. They create reality which controversy to the real reality. Reality of this world is gravity, which defined us from conscience, mental work, to the cellular level. This is how gravity influences us, which most people have no realization. They're thinking that they are ruling this world in movement, which is bullshit. Not at all. They are living by the rules of gravity, and accidentally they perform as it should be done by the structural already blueprint of the world of movement. Who are not performing like that, they injured. This is what cause of injuries.
So is this kind of like childhood developmental patterns? Like a child, as they're growing up, they are essentially being formed by their environment and naturally by the weight of gravity. So they have this stack, and then they cross over, and then they come into the spinal extension, and then they come into a squat, and then they're standing, and they have this perfect balance in relation to gravity, and their body's almost in this beautiful equipoise.
Right.
That's pre these learned patterns where we start going in, okay, need this angle and then external rotation and 33 degrees, and it's almost like
and then BS started, this is what unfortunate thing and disaster what we are dealing with. Because nature is governing us in the right direction perfectly if we will continue this line, but we do not. Because until 5 years old, child operate with that subconscious level of interaction with gravity. Means with the body weight. After that, teaching starts, which is complete nonsense. Because papa, mama, uncle, coach start teaching people or kid how to use muscles. It's incredible disruption with our relationship with nature.
It's kind of like trying to be yourself.
Yeah, right.
If you're trying to be yourself, you're innately disconnected from anything that's true.
Right, because
just be me. You can do it.
You see, muscles are governed by the body weight, by gravity, not by our conscience. But we so wrongly thinking that we are governing force, we are who ruling these things, and this is what controversy starts. So, brain is operating on the childhood with the influence of gravity and listening this all the time, body weight. But then we're putting poison in the brain with the thoughts of how we are operating with muscles. Muscle do not listen actually our brain. Muscle listen only body weight. Our illusion that we can tense our muscles artificially like that, create illusions that I could do in movement. No, you cannot.
Right.
In movement, you're operating with only body weight. That's it.
Yeah, you can't jump the steps and just go to creating the superficial image. But what's interesting, the superficial image does manifest itself if you just do actually kind of almost like surrender yourself to something that's more natural.
Yes, you have to be a very good observer, and you have to be a very good performer of somebody's rules. Like a good actor is who listening what producer is telling him to do. You see, that is what how it related to.
Yeah.
It's not about you being smart there and performing your art form. No. There are dumb actors like Marcello Mastroianni, for example, completely uneducated guy and so on, who played scientist of high level. When he was asked how he does this great work, he told, "I'm listening what producer is telling me."
Hmm.
You see, this is major thing. He is just mimicking because producer is a nature. Producer should be smart. Actor doesn't need to be smart. He needs to be very good in performing what told to perform.
And so if the actor's too smart, then he's going to become mechanical.
It's correct.
Yeah. So how does a smart actor or a smart
He
mover come back into relation with the producer or nature?
should become dumb,
Mm.
completely cut off conscience or his thoughts of how it's supposed to be, because he couldn't see it. He couldn't perceive in full picture what he is performing. He need to do part of what he asked to do by the director or producer.
Mm.
Because the main idea exists only in producer's head.
Yeah.
This is what comes Spielberg.
Yeah.
He keeps in his head whole picture. He's like a conductor in orchestra. Each one, violin player, piano player, trumpet player, they are playing on rule. They are not playing orchestra.
Yeah.
Orchestra played by the governor, who is a conductor.
How do we get dumber?
Oh, you have to. It's called like that. You have to cut your conscience. You should not think what you do. You see, this is what the interesting part. You have to operate with perception only, and this perception, in this case, should be comes from conductor. In our case in movement, our conductor is gravity, body weight.
What are actionable steps to start to come into relationship with gravity?
You have to learn of perception of the body weight, because gravity doesn't have anything in our perception except only through two parameters. Gravity comes to us only in two elements, parameters, factors: body weight and the free falling. This is what gravity does.
Yeah. So what's the psychological element in that? Because it seems like in order for the body to become dumb enough to let go of like overcomplicating things and being mechanical, there needs to be an initial seed of an idea planted to be able to grow into releasing all of that old information that you've had. Or is it just is meditation the answer?
No, it's not. Meditation inside movement already happened,
Yeah, right.
But you have to first be acquainted, conscious or subconscious level, it doesn't matter, with the perception of the body weight and free falling. What does it mean, When you perceive these things, then movement become just a simple cycles of or pendulum of changing from body weight to fall, because body weight is a potential energy. Falling is a kinetic energy. We're coming to the physics now.
Yeah.
We don't need to explain to our students this, or our child, but how you move. Very simple. You have first stationary position of you in a resting condition where you're standing on place. It's called body weight. When you want to move, you have to now let it go your body weight to another place. You start falling. It's a free thing. It's not operated with muscles. Falling is not muscular involvement at all, except only you holding your body in this position.
Yeah.
So you have to learn these things and nothing else. And then movement is a sequence of this fall and body weight. It's a repeatable cycle of exchange of energies from potential to kinetic and back, and that what you have to learn. And very specific movement has own structure of this repeating things, like running, for example. You're standing in one position, it's called balance, it's a pose. We're coming to the pose now. Pose, it's a body weight. It's similar.
Yeah.
Only when you have body weight, you have a pose. And in order to have body weight, you have to have this pose.
Right.
Pose has intention, very simple intention, how to use body weight. You see, simple. You want to punch someone, you have to bring your body weight in very specific body position, pose.
Yeah.
You want to run, the same thing. You want to swim, there are own body weight position, pose. I call it swimming pose, running pose, boxing pose, whatever.
So what is the pose?
Pose.
Yeah.
Pose it's a gate.
Yeah.
It's a channel through which you are channeling energy of gravity into the movement in simple way.
So with running or walking, is it controlled falling?
It's falling is not controlling. This
Yeah.
this is what pose controlling. Yes, pose is controlled, but not falling. Falling is not controllable.
So it's pose, fall, pose, fall.
Yes, all right. In between them exists pull, because in order to get into the next pose, you have to pull your support foot
Yeah.
into next body position, what call pose, next the running pose.
Yeah, I found, so after studying pose method, I actually had tried running on ice. Was that like the initial way that you started?
Oh,
What was like the initial
it's a
story
good
with that?
challenge because ice doesn't allow you to do any BS.
You're right.
No
So
way
if you
to-
have more, an excess amount of time squashing into the ground, ice doesn't really permit
No,
that because then
no.
you slip.
You
So
cannot
it's-
push there. You cannot do overstriding there.
Yeah.
You see all this because slippery condition of the support cut off any BS what people do usually in running.
And is running on ice a fair comparison to running on land?
Yes, but very restricted area of interaction with support
Yeah.
because of slippery condition of our support.
So what do you see with people after they start to, a person that would learn to run effectively on ice and not have that squashing of the foot, like heel striking, for example, wouldn't fare well on ice?
No, you cannot do this.
Yeah. So what do you see with a person upon learning pose method or learning to not that it has to be running on ice, but nonetheless just like that is like a meaningful visual for people?
People
Where do you see change?
who knows pose, they could run on an ice.
Yeah.
And people who try run without pose, they understood that many things what they did as a running doesn't work there completely.
Yeah.
It's a kind of cleaning your mess in your mind immediately.
Right.
There exists a kind of cleaning machine, some thought process mess or something like that. Ice does it instantly.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, push off. You cannot do this. Land ahead of the body, like extend your stride, something like it's
Right.
impossible. You see, all these things become impossible.
Yeah.
Do like it's called drive. It's impossible. All these things goes out.
Putting on my blue blocking glasses.
Great.
We're right now. We're in where are we in YouTube Studios?
Yes,
in
we are.
somewhere in Los Angeles, Culver City. And I'm looking up at Dr. Romanov. I'm looking right into this light above me, which isn't optimal.
And then, sorry
that's
for
okay.
that. I couldn't
No, it's
get
it's
more
okay.
comfortable. It's a good studio for.
We're in like a place where you record books and stuff. We're in like a little cubicle. We're very close. It's very. This is a good rapport building moment. We're going
Right.
to connect intimately here in this room. Heel striking.
It's a nonsense.
So is that Nike selling us that heel
Yes,
striking is
of
the way
course.
so they can sell us shoes?
This is Bill Bauman's invention.
Yeah. What did that do?
Nothing. Good.
Yeah.
It's a break, physically speaking. Oh, I mean, from physics point of view, it's a break.
What does that mean?
It means you're stopping movement. It means you eventually put yourself in a bad position towards your body because you start using your body weight as a hammering machine on your body,
Right.
which ended up in a painful condition for your legs, for your back, and so on.
Yeah.
It's artificial using your body weight, like your own body weight you're using against yourself. This is what heel striking.
Was the creation of that originally, is Nike entirely responsible for that?
Yes, I think Bill Bauman was who was blessing ignorance in this direction. In in 1962, he traveled to New Zealand and picked up this virus called jogging. He brought into US. We have to give him credit for this. It's his thing. He wrote a very famous book. It's called Jogging. In 1967, it came out, and it's created initial origination of the running boom in the United States. But because he was attached later on in 70s, he was connected with Phil Knight with Nike as a co-founder, and his main thing was entrepreneur's role. He needed to sell these things. Initially, it looks like very good idea to create wedge shoes with the heels on, to create that's a long stride,
Yeah.
which is a dumb thing, obviously, from physics point of view. But he wanted to increase speed by increasing stride lengths. But
So now the foot can go out in front of you as opposed to
it's
land
correct,
underneath you.
right? And to avoid negative consequence of this, he thought, if we will cushioning this, we will kind of cushioning everything. But in physics, it doesn't work. You can cushioning your heel, but impact doesn't disappear because of that. It will hit in other places. After that, number of injuries in knees increase radically up, from like 10% maybe, it become most frequent injury in the running community, up to 45%, which was disaster.
What do we do if we are a habituated heel striker? How do we safely convert back to a more natural method of running?
Natural, we have to go to the origin of word and meaning of natural. This is what people using without any idea what does it mean to be natural.
Yeah.
I will provoke this question to you. What does it mean to be natural?
What does it mean to be natural?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could argue that we're in one of the most conceivably artificial environments that a
Okay,
person can
you
be.
have to
There's like
define what does it mean, artificial and non-artificial. You see, this it goes on and goes on like this. We're going into the depths of the forest and couldn't see. We have to go to the origin of the word.
Yeah.
It's a Latin word, but it's a translation from the Greek. And the meaning of this is very simple, physics. But physics, in understanding from Greek, meaning the most general and common laws of nature. You see, this is what natural means. And that common law which we are living, which is a foundation of our life and what is molded us, it's not my words, it's James Gibson's words, it's gravity. And gravity has two components, again, come back, and the most important component for movement in this case is the falling. So natural movement in running is falling. If you are falling, it's natural. If you are not falling, you are not natural. So if you put foot in front of you and break yourself, you are breaking falling. So it's not natural. This is how interpretation from pose method coming.
So would natural in the body, so like, are you familiar with Ida Rolfing, structural integration, any of that stuff?
It's a very complicated system which cover up lots of unknown things in a very nice kind of sentences, like without much meaning in this case. I study all these things.
Oh, so what do you think of Rolfing? Do you think it's bullshit?
No, in many cases it's a nice talking. This is what all. Good
so
intention.
The concept of structural integration, in the sense like it's like a quote
it's a word.
From
see.
Well, so a quote from Ida just says, once you can get the body working in alignment with gravity, then it begins to heal itself. And so it seems like what you're describing, I think, perhaps could be that once we can find alignment within this field of gravity, then that perhaps comes into this definition of natural.
But you see, we have to put gravity first. But gravity is, again, has no face and no appearance in our sensory system. We perceive gravity only through the body weight. Body weight in physics definition is a pressure what your material body produce on the point of support. You see?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So you have to be very much familiar in your sensory system, and better, of course, in a conscious mind. What does it mean body weight? Because that definition which exists in classical physics unknown for most people.
Yeah.
Including scientists. They confuse mass with the body weight, which is disaster.
Yeah. Where's the emotional component come into this? How does a person that's in misalignment with gravity, how does that affect the way that they think and the way that they feel?
Oh, we have to go to definition now what these emotions are.
Do you want to define it or should I?
Yes. So I would like to hear what you're defining the most, but then I will come up with something else maybe.
Well, I have to think about it more deeply, but they say emotion is like energy in motion is something that I hear a lot. What would you say? I mean, that's a cop out. That's a cop out bullshit definition. I'd rather hear yours.
It's again nice words like something. What is a good man? Oh, good man is a good man. You know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, emotion. That's an interesting question. Emotion is like I guess perhaps internal sensation, like a person's filter or depiction of experience would come out as like a flavor of what we would call emotion.
It's a nice. Almost like a sexy definition, but meaningless.
Oh, everything's meaningless. What is it meaningless?
We have to go to the roots of these things, you know, and more profound understanding of emotions. We have to understand from point of view definition. Define, it means understand what the phenomena means. And emotions in very deep and profound way defined as a very simple thing. All right, I'll give you pause and I will ask you, what do you think from physics point of view emotions are?
That's the questions. What is
yes,
physics?
yes, right. I'm just checking your intellect.
No, I'd like to respond to this.
Please do.
Emotions from a physics perspective.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. I do appreciate this because I'm meeting so many people who rather go to the bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
Except instead just sincerely saying, God, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
That's it, you know.
Yeah,
all right, now we can talk.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I'm glad we finally arrived.
Otherwise, I have to listen this nonsense and see, like, making face like, oh my goodness, what he's talking about. You know?
I'm growing used to that with people, so it's all right.
Right, and
I'm
you
developing
almost,
a callous for
almost
people
like
rolling their eyes.
throw up and like on the verge.
Yeah.
I'm like, I shouldn't continue this because next thing I'm going to insult him with my answer with no intention.
No,
because
have at it.
Okay.
Let the insults fly. I'm ready.
Okay. It's not about insulting. It's a truth.
Yeah.
Truth cannot be insulting, you know, but people...
Truth hurts.
Yes. All right. Okay. From academic, Russian academic Simonov, emotion defined as a degree of certainty or uncertainty.
I can see that.
That's it. It's a physics.
So uncertainty feels which way and certainty feels
anyway,
which other way.
You see, when you are, it's a degree of probability. You see, it's called probability theory of emotions.
Say more about this. What is this?
What is that? It means that your reaction on any kind of process, what's happening to you, with expectation or not expectation, it depends on how much probability or how big probability of that event for you happening. You see, how much probability, or like from 0 to 1 or from 0 to 100%. It's a probability theory.
Yeah.
Basically, your emotions are very high level when probability expectation would be, for example, 90%, but it comes 10.
Yeah.
You're upset.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Or you are expecting 10, it comes 90. You're overwhelmed.
Yeah. And that's when people have, what was it? It was like when people have, statistically, when they know what's about to happen, even if it's a terrible thing.
Yes.
Like I was reading about a thing, it was like the Battle of Blitzkrieg, where there's like
Right.
bombs dropping
Right.
it's like every day around noon, there would be some building would get blown up. It was like, well, we know it's around noon, so it's not so bad. So cortisol levels and all that stuff weren't such a
Okay.
big deal.
Good. You see? So expectation and reality.
Yeah.
Or you know what's happening there because that is a very known probability. Then it will affect you not much, you know. You see, that is the emotions. It's your reaction on the level of probability or degree of probability.
How does this relate to running better?
It's the same thing, you know.
Well,
Okay,
how
you-
do we come
you-
into
you-
union with our
you-
level of probability
Okay,
for
I'm-
emotions and
I'm
movement?
giving you example. you coming to the marathon,
Yeah.
and your expectation that, oh my God, I'm in shit condition and I wouldn't probably finish this today. Oh my God, you see?
Yeah.
Panic. That everything is, and suddenly it means that the guy has no idea about his own body.
Yeah.
A very low perception. And then he running, and suddenly after half marathon, he feels like, oh God, I'm still alive. And it feels like I finished marathon. It's like, oh, whew, boom, finished.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
What do you think of all of the different research around how postural patterns affect the way that a person thinks and feels and even accesses memories? And
It's upside down approach. This is what all.
say more.
Our pose reflecting what happening, you know, it's not opposite. You see, our pose is reflecting already what happening, you know, it's not opposite.
Don't you think there could be, I think of it as, which doesn't need to be accurate, but almost like two ends of the same rope. So like you could go top down and it could be more of like the thoughts and feelings and experiences and probabilities affect the physical posture, or you could go bottom up and say the physical posture also affects the mind. It's like chicken and the egg. I think it's typically kind of just both.
Of course, but you have to recognize, first of all, you have to be materialist here, you know, not idealist. Don't be afraid that people will put you in a communist camp, you know.
Right.
But material world is what is defining our presence in this life.
Yeah.
You see, and the emotions are material. You see, this is what point. The amount of probability or magnitude of probability, it's a material thing, which affect your cellular level. And then you like you coming to the marathon again, not aware that you're really good, but you thinking that you're not good, you didn't have enough training, you eat today, not good today, and your girlfriend didn't have sex with you, and so on. Like that, your posture. This posture reflect not your readiness for marathon, your posture reflect uncertainty.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And this dissonance between reality and what you perceive as a reality. You're more concerned not about marathon, but that your girlfriend didn't smile for you in the morning.
Right.
And that posture, what you call...
Which that comes back to a lack of acceptance or a lack of worthiness of love or a lack of your mother or girlfriend
It's
or
correct.
life accepting you.
Right. But it's not reality. Do you understand? It's your perception of the reality. Because your mom is in dissonance with you, but she's still your mom. She loves you, you see. But you perceive, oh, she hates me. Like, why? It's mom. You just perverting these things, that you don't trust that your mom really mom. She's an angry woman for you right now.
I wanted to take a quick moment and thank the sponsor of this podcast, Phenom. This is a very appropriate sponsor for this podcast. They are a vibrating foam roller. So for runners out there listening to this program, something that you would absolutely love having in your arsenal would be having a high quality vibrating foam roller. I am presently sitting on the Phenom foam roller right now, and I am enjoying this whole experience. It's not vibrating, but it could be. It's got 3 different speeds, and when you're using a foam roller, something I would recommend is really focusing around attachments. Almost treat the foam roller like a lever where you're opening up space in joints. You don't really want to just smash muscle bellies with foam rollers as much. Think more shearing tissues or getting tissue layers to slide. Think rehydrating tissues. So use the foam roller around muscular attachments would be my recommendation, and particularly use the Phenom roller around muscular attachments. Really great stuff, and you can get yourself a discount by going to align.monument. Monument spelled MNUMNT.com. So that is align.mnumt.com. align.mnumt.com. Get yourself a discount. Get yourself that roller. Roll out those hips. Sort out those knees. Open up those ankles. And enjoy the rest of this conversation with the good Dr. Romanov. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's called theory of mind, where a child as they are on their mom's still lactating, they're still getting milk from their mom's breast.
Mm-hmm.
During that time frame, they still think of their mother as being them.
Yes,
there's no separation.
I had these things until 5 years old. I do remember this still now.
Huh? What's that like?
Oh, beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You are completely peaceful condition.
Right.
You're happy because this safe environment.
Yeah. What if your mom is experiencing dissonance in and of herself, and she feels disconnected from her own mother, or,
Yes, I know.
She feels unsafe in the world.
It's a little bit discomfort, but she's still with you. And until 5 years old, I was in this condition.
What was the condition like?
Happiness.
Huh.
In spite that we didn't have enough food, it was a harsh weather condition, environment. You see, poor lifestyle and so on.
What was your upbringing?
Very poor.
What was happening?
You see, the historically, unfortunately, political system in Soviet Union, my grandpa and my grandma were very kind of well-established people. They were landlords. They had lots of land, animals, and they were rich people, like in that environment.
Yeah.
But communist government create these things that poor people didn't like wealthy people. In 1931, they were it's called expropriation. They took from them everything.
Yeah.
Put the whole family in the normal wagon, a train, not normal train, but just for the goods, thing, not for people.
Oh yeah, right.
And on the Chinese border, 1,000 kilometers from where they used to live, and that's it. And after that, until the Second World War beginning, when my grandpa volunteered to this, my family was not allowed to come back to the European part of the Soviet Union. This is what reality.
How is your memories of that?
It's memories of my grandma and my mom. This is what I was born much later. This is what they told me.
Oh, right.
When I start get curious why we're living here like that,
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
Oh, everywhere. I was born in Siberia and traveled to the Far East on Kamchatka,
Wow.
a couple years there, on the very harsh environment. Then we come back to Siberia because we still didn't allow much to go. To, we stay in the middle of Siberia, like nearby Lake of Baikal, then travel to Ural mountain area. This is a couple years there, and then only after that we return to the origin, to the European part. It's a middle Volga call, and settle life there.
Was that like a tumultuous upbringing for you? Is there a lot of unsureness then?
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
There's no money, no house. We always rented something, very poor. Not enough food, not enough clothes, not enough shoes.
How do you think that affects you or a person in general in comparison to someone that grows up in suburbs, middle America?
I don't know because atmosphere where I grow up, it was kind of inspirational.
Yeah, right.
You will study good, you will get good marks, and you will grow up. And I grow up in this feeling, and I was a good student.
Okay. So you always had everything you needed.
But no, not not enough food. I told you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I didn't eat food which was available for like average American.
Right.
For example, very nice butter, very nice bread, and a very nice meat, something like low quality, yes, but not this top level.
But then you became an elite athlete.
Yes,
How do you
you-
think that attributed?
because I wanted to be great, but more I enjoy the process of itself, freedom,
Yeah.
because sport gave me a capacity to express myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I will be after, but sport was the leading part, which brought me to the science and this field and so on. And I found that actually I wanted to be there and wanted to be that guy who studies these things, movement, and now I am here.
Do you think that if you had not grown up hungry,
Yes.
you think you'd be less?
Yeah, I will be spoiled rat like
Yeah.
like many Americans.
Yeah.
When I look at these rich kids,
Yeah.
I always kind of like, oh my goodness, poor boy,
Yeah. Yeah. Wealth skips a generation.
It's correct, right?
Yeah.
And it's create more problem rather than good things.
So what have you seen in the time? What is your age?
Should I reveal it?
Only if
No,
you're. It seemed
no,
like you don't give a shit.
I don't give a damn. But
Yeah, I
this
didn't think you
look,
did.
I'm not.
I didn't think you did.
I'm man, not woman.
Yeah.
And for age for me is like kind of abstract thing, because I don't feel what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm saying, I'm 68, right?
God, that's good. So what have you seen? What's the evolution that you've seen in the health and fitness and movement and wellness industry since you've been paying attention?
In general, obviously there are progress, but
When did you start paying attention actively? 50 years ago?
yes, probably even earlier,
Yeah.
because the environment I grow up, we were kind of, I was among very smart and very intellectual people.
Yeah.
I was lucky with that I was surrounded with these people.
Yeah. So what have you seen? How's the evolution?
Evolution, it goes like that people always they are starving for the better,
Right.
It doesn't matter what society is at, but progress is always guiding things, so we want to be better.
Yeah.
So sometimes if it's a poor society, it's better, it means good food, then better clothing, like better shoes. You see, it's small freaking things,
Yeah.
because as a matter of fact, health is first is a spirit. This is major thing. Define who you are in your relationship with the environment.
Yeah.
Ancient people understood this very well, so well. You see, Chinese philosophy built up all on your relationship with the environment. Like Chuang-Tzu was telling pain is a penalty for violating principle of nature. You see,
Yeah.
that's it. You there. Lao Tzu was clear about this matter. And ancient Greeks were telling the same thing all the time, and where there we are, But lots of BS created as well, because this industry, what call wellness industry, like nutrition, is lots of BS there. It's a funny thing about this that most advocate of a healthy style life, they are short-living guys. They die much earlier than people who do not follow any instruction of how to eat and so on. It's almost like a tragedy,
Hmm. Why do you
because
think that is?
a very simple thing. It's a suppression. It's called when you are in terms of what you have to eat. Count calories, and you have to be careful what you eat and so on. What you're creating? Prison. It's restrictions.
Yeah.
Nature doesn't like any freaking restrictions. So what you're doing, you're cutting off a relationship inside your body, because that restrictions of your mind goes to the restrictions of relationship inside your body. It means on a cellular level.
Hmm.
And you are distracting process of exchange. Nature, based on very simple thing, defined a long time ago, and defined in the philosophical way, like what is nature? Nature is exchange with matter, energy, and information.
Yeah.
You see, if you cutting off this or put in a very strict frame, you're creating trouble. You see, one way or another. In 70s, I studied myself because I was interested in these things. It's called longevity. And I found a few books at that time, mutual research by United States Academy of Health and Soviet Union. And they produced a couple books, incredibly interesting research, which are known in the United States, was published over there. And I have it in my library. Maybe I will share with you this, some data from this. One of the interesting conclusions was that they found that longevity not related with any very specific food. They found long-living guys who lived on complete fat or complete mixed things like Georgia or Mediterranean areas. People eat everything what is possible,
Yeah.
but still, they're using very much carbohydrates like Italian, and still healthy people. And longevities are very high. And the one anecdote, like the interview with one lady who is 125 yes, smoking tube, and they ask her, where you start this smoking? She was like, 70 years old probably. All right. And then what's your favorite food? She told, I love this fat lamb. Oh my goodness. And with a nice bread. And one, I don't drink much wine, she's telling, but one glass in the morning, like a couple glasses during my lunch, and 2-3 glasses to get sleep. And she's 125.
Yeah.
She has a very clear mind, has no any sicknesses, what people are collecting by that age. You see, it's a strange thing completely, and she's free from all of this. She has no restrictions to what to eat. Do you understand? She's telling, I'm eating what I do like. That's it. That is the key to have a freedom and have a high level perception to identify what you need really. People like, I don't eat because it's too much fat here. This is too much carbohydrates, and so on. It's bullshit going on. What are you creating? Prison.
Yeah.
Your sellers level, they start rebel. It's a riot over there. They're like, fuck you.
Yeah. It's almost like you only have so much bandwidth of attention, and when you're in a place that we've outsourced so much, our attention needs to go someplace, so it goes into the minutia of all the kilocalories and
Right, right.
ketosis and all the
It's
different.
called it's called mental masturbation. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So it seems like perhaps, so the longest longitudinal study done at Harvard started in like 1936, and they've been watching, I think, like 230 odd people, watching them go through their whole life, like since they were little people. I think since they were actually freshmen, and then they watched their kids as well. And what they found with that was that community was like the golden thread that
Yeah.
determined the healthiest outcome of people.
Right.
And then as you're speaking, it feels to me like there's like this internal spirit to cultivate that keeps us healthier than any of the
Of course.
micromanaging of our nutrients.
It's correct.
So how do we tap into the spirit?
It's a good question. You know, you have to be free from your many concerns. Concern about your how many years you will live. Not concerned about how much money you make. Not concerned of many distractions in the world. You see, this is what comes to, and what you have to concern, that when you wake up in the morning and you see the sunrise, you're happy to see it. It's like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful day comes. But not, oh my God, I have so many things to do today in the morning, you know, and in lunchtime I have to meet this, and you ruin your day.
Yeah.
You cut off yourself from the beauty of these things.
Yeah. It's almost like you have like a container of yourself that's sitting outside of yourself,
Right,
as opposed to ever actually being
right,
in
right.
yourself.
Interesting things like insane people live longer than normal people. It's an interesting thing
I
as
didn't know
well.
that.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing, because they are not concerned about many things what normal people are concerned.
You know central governor theory, Tim Noakes, South Africa.
I'm blessed that he's my friend, you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's my friend, but I've done podcasts with him, and we've had a lot of communication.
We
And
had
one-
long years of relationship.
Oh,
with
great.
him.
Yeah, I mentioned the central governor theory in the upcoming book that I'm doing. And I wonder within that, how much of that central governor, you're saying like, you know, insane people, perhaps they've kind of released that governor of what is acceptable time to die.
I will make one remark about these things, because central government theory, that kind of theory was developed by two Russians way before, you know. And Tim Noakes did know this, but he reopened something what already was done.
Mm.
In 1935, two Russian scientists, Nikolai Bernstein and Petr Anokhin, they created these things. They call a little bit different this, but it's all it's called problem of regional and central relationship in our nervous system. This kind of call. It was done before.
What does regional and central nervous system mean?
It means it's a who is the governing force in your body, you know, outside, like a peripheral nervous system or central nervous system. You see, it's a that relationship what is governing. You understand? It's like that is a key how we live. We have to understand who is governing. Like peripheral nervous system is collecting very many data from outside. It's a first filter, which information comes in, right? And peripheral system is collecting data from your small organs, different organs, from muscles and so on.
Yeah.
But it goes to the brain, to the central part, you know.
Walking on rocks over your
Right.
feet, feeling that.
And then how you interpretation of these things is another step, and how you making decision from this, and then action from this thing. And it's a very complicated thing. And the result of this thing is called functional system theory, what academic Anokhin was developed through these things. And it was way ahead of cybernetic. Do you understand? Like 10, 15 years earlier than cybernetics came by Wiener.
Yeah.
which published in 1947 only, but it came 12 years before that things already.
So is that regional versus central nervous
Yeah.
system? Is that almost kind of a similar thing of what we were talking about before? That your posture affects your thoughts and feelings, or does your thoughts and feelings affect your postures?
Yeah,
Or
you see, this Tim Noakes a little bit simplified these things. It's not just a central nervous system. It's not about that. Actually, it's a perception. It's a higher hierarchy level. You know, central nervous system. It's a neurons, but it's a relationship between neurons. But above this exists another level of things. It's called perception. So what neurons are produced, it comes up to that level of perception, and that is what's governing us. You know, how you are interacting with the world and how you're reacting on the world is not a relationship with neurons, but what that neurons. It's a mechanical process.
Yeah.
But what they're creating perception,
Yeah.
and that perception defines your behavior.
Where do you think perception lives? Where is it housed in the body?
There's no house there. It's a conglomerate. It's a final point. You know, these things. It's all the time. It's a process. It's not staying in one place or staying in one same position. No, it's a process constantly. It's a way of how you perceive anything. What comes from in or from out, and that perception is not stable or conservative process. It's a constantly changing process, and you have to deal with that, and you understand the boundary of the perception, what people don't understand. They thinking perception is like, oh, I know, this is beautiful. No, from beauty to ugliness, it's one step only. Deviation from ugly to beauty is almost like imperceptible.
Yeah, complete bliss to suicide, or they're right beside each other.
Right.
It's a flip of the
like stupidity and genius is right there in one line.
Yeah.
So
how do I flip my filter out of stupidity and over to genius?
So far it's unknown thing.
Okay.
I am studying perception almost 40 years, you know, and I still have no answer for what is that. And many great minds spend on this. And like Leonardo da Vinci was writing about this. Aristotle was talking about these things, you know. Basically, any given big philosophical name or scientist was talking about this.
Perception. Since there's not a specific house in the body, does perception exist outside of the tissue, skin body? Are you and I sharing perception
what you're
right now?
talking, it's a sensation.
Yeah.
It's sensory system.
Yeah.
And I'll show you one example right now. You see here, hold like that, okay? Now close eyes. And I will ask you the question right now. Please give me an answer immediately. Don't think. You see, this is perception, all right? Okay, we agreed?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Maybe.
Concentrate on my question. Okay, how many fingers I put in your arm?
2.
How many fingers I put on your arm?
2.
How many fingers I put on your arm?
1.
Open. You have, it's still 2.
I was 2 every time?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Not you. You're not a son. I'm sure your mother is very kind.
This is what, and you have exceptional sensory system. Most people, I put like that 3, 4. Do you understand? 4.
So what Dr. Romanov just did is I had my hand up, and then he put his fingers on my arm 3 times, and I was
always 2 fingers only.
Always 2 each time. That's
and
good. I like that little trick.
Okay, so you sense but didn't perceive last time.
Yeah, I jacked up on that last one.
Right. That is what boundary where senses become perception.
Yeah.
On any visual, hearing, touch, tactile.
Yeah.
Anything.
You know about Rupert Sheldrake, morphic resonance? Have you ever heard of that stuff?
I know the name, you know, but I'm trying to recall his work. But
so like morphic resonance essentially is like we're all in this consciousness soup. You know, so one of the things that he studies and research they did was dogs know when their owners are coming home. This is
Yes.
a little bit, but they know when their owners are coming home
Right.
with pretty high consistency, even if it's random times.
It's correct.
And there's this entanglement, this connection there. So
This
that
is
belief
what
system that my perception is inside of my cabeza, like in
That's
my brain here,
right.
it's like, well, maybe it's a little bit more blurry than what we think.
It's correct. It's still unknown what is there are material carrier of these things exist of perception.
Hmm.
It's not like air. No. Anything what we call energy has always material carrier
Hmm.
and perception as well.
What's the material look like?
this is this is called vibration.
Right.
Okay? Vibration. What we're producing. Vibration it's waves going through the air. Air is atoms, you know.
Right.
So this is what carriers of that you're producing very specific vibration, and it goes through the air. It's dog is perceiving,
Yeah.
you not.
Yeah.
This is I feel when my wife coming home like a dog.
Yep.
Because I live a long time with my lady.
Yeah, you guys are entangled.
Yes, I'm like, she's coming.
Is that kind of like those, there's a fancy, beautiful name for it, those plates where they put salt on it or sand on it, could be really anything but sand, and then they play certain frequencies, and then these very specific patterns come up depending upon the frequency. So each frequency has this very specific, beautiful, like sacred geometrical pattern that pops up.
Everything in this world is vibration.
So are our thoughts creating these,
It's
these
correct.
patterns?
Absolutely.
That's very cool.
Heartbeat, emotions, uncertainty, it's a vibration.
Yeah.
Different one, you know. This is how I do healing with people whom I work with, like healing.
So the healing isn't so much
It's a changing
just
vibration.
the physical touch, but more the intention created before the touch, during the touch,
Right.
after the touch.
My grandma gave me this gift, healing with hands. Like I'm holding like that, and I'm creating this. No, you're laughing maybe, but it's what I do.
No, I'm appreciating.
My wife doesn't visit doctors almost 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years because of me.
Yeah. How do people channel that in themselves?
You mean what
Capacity to heal.
healing?
Yeah.
Some people rejecting this. With some people, I would get pain and never attempt to these people again. I'm just, that's it. They have a very high level of neglection or rejection of what you're bringing. I would have incredible pain back on me.
Yeah.
Through my, sometimes it goes up to like to my shoulders, you know. And when I start feel like it goes like numb, I'm like, bye.
Yeah.
And never come back.
Yeah.
I do not tell last sentence, but that's it. I'm telling my wife, please never mention again this person for me.
So what is that? What's the physics of that?
Physics?
Yeah.
It's people are very conservative. They live in incredible level of fear, and this fear it's a vibration, which is goes interference with my vibration,
Right.
and it's create that force against me.
But that's like a coat that they're wearing. Underneath that, we're all the same. We're all
Yes, of
love,
course.
love and light.
Not inside is a mess.
What's the core root of
Mess?
the human experience? Is it love? Does that sound like some new age shit?
No, this is lots of people live by the fears.
Yeah.
Their rules of life governing is a fear. They're governed by fears, not love.
But the root underneath the production or the manifestation of fear in your life, or scarcity, or any of those things that kind of like mask and shrink and contract.
It's uncertainty who they are. They always hesitate who they are. They do not believe who they are, and they're afraid to reveal themselves this way.
Yeah.
They want to hide.
Yeah.
And that's why they close any channels outside, and they live like in prison. And their communication is very restricted. It's usually be like, oh, I'm not sure. When you hear this kind of sentences, like, oh, this is my guy,
Yeah.
then I'm cutting off.
How does one, and we'll wrap up here, how does one start shedding layers of fear?
The fears have incredible amount of layers, like hesitation. It's a fear.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, which usually leads to disaster.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
correct. They are like, I'm not sure that this girl is good for me, or I'm not sure that I am good for this girl. Well, that's it. You're castrating yourself,
Interesting. How great, man. We never met each other before. That was what a great experience to get to have. I really appreciate you, man.
Vibration.
Yeah, exactly. We're in this little sound tube vibrating.
I don't feel even this strange environment we're sitting in.
It's very different. We're in a very strange environment. I guess everything's strange. Strange and interesting. Where should people go from here? Where do people learn about you? Where do people go?
Mainly, I am known as a specialist, kind of in the running field.
Yeah.
Like, it's a wrong perception of me, but it's strict what I know through my books. That
Yeah.
I'm specialist in running.
Yeah.
I created pose method not for running. I created this for track and field first. It's for most difficult technical events like high jumping, long jumping, triple jumping, throwing, hurdles, and running was like on the way.
Yeah.
You see, but because of most people requested running, I become running specialist, and they call me running coach. It drives me nuts,
Yeah.
because I never considered myself like a coach.
So people go, what's like is a website the best place?
Yes,
or
it's a
social
pose
media?
method.
Pose method.
Yes,
.com.
pose method is not about running only.
Yeah.
It's a lot about running because it's kind of requested. You see, I am reflecting people's interest,
Yeah.
necessity. If it would be as much as in running, people who are interested in high jumping, I will be there.
Yeah.
Because it's suit my
Yeah. Right.
me,
Right.
But there are only few jumpers in the world,
Yeah. So why would people go to pose method? What would they be looking
because
for?
of pain. People do not come first to run faster. Most of our clientele says, like, I don't like this word, but
Yeah.
I mean, because they hurt, then they start looking for solution.
And they hurt because they're running wrong?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Only.
One thing you mentioned, you said the what did you say? The virus of jogging. What do you think of jogging?
It's a good thing.
Okay.
Absolutely. There is no bad movement.
Yeah.
Any movement is good, but the bad thing is how you executing this, you see?
Yeah.
Driving car is not bad thing, but if you're hitting every single other car, it's not good thing.
Yeah, it's not going to last long.
Right. Shooting from the rifle is not bad thing at all. I like myself. I have rifle,
Yeah.
but when you're shooting people, it's not good.
Yeah.
It means your brain a little bit squeezed in different direction.
So we got to stop shooting ourselves.
Yes, better start from yourself.
Yeah. Right.
In Russian, we call shoot yourself first and then think of others.
Yeah, right. That's good. So pose method's the spot to go then. Social media?
Yes, we have
Instagram?
yes, Instagram, Facebook.
It's all pose method.
Yes, it's all pose method. Or
Cool.
Dr. Nicholas Romanov, or Nicholas Romanov. And
Awesome.
it's all this about.
I appreciate you teaching me, man.
It's my pleasure to have a nice conversation. Not very often happened, because when you start talk about these sensitive fields and people get cranky,
That's good.
because when you are basically without any intention getting into controversy,
Yeah.
you are enemy of mine now.
Yeah.
I'm always telling, like, science has no intention to insult you, make you stupid or anything. Science is a cognition
Yeah.
process. we are discovering together when we're discussing things, and the point is not to prove that you are idiot,
Right.
even you are idiot, because it's not the
Well, I'm absolutely. We're all idiots. If you don't think you're an idiot, then you're
because
confused, I
science
think.
doesn't operate your personality on mine,
Yeah.
Science is about, we are looking for the truth.
Yeah.
On the way of our discussion, we're trying to find this. In one way, you write on this, but it's not right again, because it's not about you right or not, because it's not about you or me again. It's about truth.
Yeah.
Truth doesn't belong to anyone, not you to me. Truth is a very interesting girl, She lives without any.
It seems like something I experienced during meditation is there'll be brief moments of feeling this sensation of unicity and connection, and I'm really not in the way of myself for like the first time, and since the last time that happened, and the moment that I attempt to contain that and grab it and touch it and feel it and pull it, the girl runs away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what truth is about.
Yeah.
Because you're reaching a level of your perception of the truth. It's only kind of teasing you,
Yeah.
on the way. Like you're reaching and you're thinking, oh, I will get you, girl.
I'm gonna bottle it. I'm gonna bottle that truth.
And at exactly this point.
Let's sell it for $19.99.
Right.
Subscription program.
Right.
Truth.
And exactly at this point, it's a
And then it goes away.
disappears. I got this long time ago, and now I'm not like chasing these things like that.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like a horizon. You're thinking, oh, I will reach it. When you got to the point where you think its horizon is, its next horizon is opening.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Cool. All right. I love it, man. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate
Aaron,
this time with you, man.
And,
It will go down in my memory.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. All right. Over now. Thanks for listening. Pow. Thank you all so much for tuning into that conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did have any specific takeaways, I would greatly appreciate if you would share those takeaways on the internet. Instagram is a great place to do it. You can tag Align Podcast, ALIGN Podcast. You could also tag Pose Method, POSEME, whatever, you know how to spell method. So if there's any specific takeaways you'd love to share with your people, I'd love to reshare those, guys. I so greatly appreciate y'all telling your friends about this. Greatly appreciate you checking out the Align method. If you're interested in learning some breathwork practices to help either upregulate your nervous system, make you feel more stimulated and full of energy, or downregulate, make you calm down. And so you can start the first week absolutely free, no strings attached. You get a lot of goodness out of that thing. And it is at alignpodcast.com/align method, or you just go to the Instagram Align Podcast, and the link for it is in the bio. First week free, good times for everybody. I hope you devour that thing. I hope you are enjoying your week, and I will see you for another episode coming very soon. Pow.